Welcome everyone to the Organic Chat. This is PJ, your host. This podcast is all about not buying organic fruits or vegetables. This is all about a small discussion on issues in our community and family, bringing positive vibes to the lives that we concern about. So in today's busy world, being and staying focused is harder than ever. With text notifications, social media, and email, it can be hard to stay focused on anything. Whether it is a task at work, focusing on your daily schedule, or your long-term goals. Those who are the most focused usually have the most energy and greatly rewarded for their efforts. We all know these situations in which we are simply unable to pay attention. We give our very best, but it's simply not possible to stop the mind from wandering off. Some of us start having vivid daydreams, while others diligently think about all the things they need to do. We engage in all kinds of exciting thoughts, but we don't do what we are actually supposed to do. Paying attention, we cannot help but lose focus, often without any realizing it. It prevents us from ever paying attention, which makes it incredibly difficult to focus on the task at hand. No one likes to admit it, but we all lose focus more often than we actually like to. Even the most ambitious among us know how incredibly difficult it is to maintain a high level of concentration, especially when tired or bored. A lack of focus can be quite a problem. So, today's topic is on focus, and let's make sure we overcome that and see what all we can do to get the focus on track. So how do we focus our minds? The focus of the mind is actually very important to become success in the world wherever you go. Swami Vivekananda said, the difference between the ordinary person and the great person lies in the degree of concentration. And he himself has extraordinary power of concentration. So focus of the mind is very necessary for anything and everything in our life. In fact, in modern positive psychology, they have studied this focus of mind concentration. One psychologist said that the quality of your life depends on how much you can concentrate and what you can concentrate on. Now, how much you can concentrate on, what you can concentrate on. Actually, there is a lady who wrote the book Wrapped, R-A-P-T, Wrapped. So she's talking about a cancer patient who suffered a lot and decided that she would not keep her mind in suffering anymore. It's inevitable. Suffering is going to come anyway. Rather than she can devote her mind in art and writing. As she learned to do that, she found the quality of her life became better. In fact, subjectively she was happier than when before cancer. She says that what you think about, my thinking about writing or art, the pain and the cancer or the co-payments and so on, what am I thinking about? Where should I put my mind? How much of my mind should I be spending on that? Milton said in Paradise Lost that mind in its own place can make a heaven of hell and hell of heaven. So it has been studied where you train your mind to think of one thing and keep on excluding everything else, bringing back your mind back to again. There's a whole science in it. It's basically a function of two things. One is the challenge posted by the environment, other is the skill. There's an example. Let's take, we are playing tennis. When we begin playing tennis, it's a great thing you return a serve. All your energies and your concentration focuses arose. You're ready to face the challenge and able to return the serve. That is, you attain the flow there. But the flow point, it's a match between the challenge and the skill. Your skill is exactly to that level. But then the point of flow is dynamic. After some time, what happens is you keep returning the serve. You get boring. Your skill has exceeded the challenge. You need to up the challenge. Maybe you need to play a game. Then maybe you need to play a game against a good player, so on. So This flow focus is a question of challenge and the skill. Too much of challenge, like in the place where there's a pressure, then if the skill capacity is below the level of challenge, it leads to anxiety, uneasiness, anxiety, stress. If the challenge is way below the skill, it leads to boredom. If it is well balanced, then you get focus. What does that mean? Practically, it means if you want focus and flow, you need to increase the challenge to meet your ability. If the challenge is beyond your ability, then the environment is putting too much of stress and stress there. You have to break it into chunks and deal it with one at a time. That's a principle, easier term actually. There is other terms to consider. One thing that scatters our mind is self-interest. If I'm in it for myself, if my idea is that only for myself, then always I'm stressed. What am I gained? How much I'm going to get out of this? I'm not at all relaxed anymore. Selfishness leads to a scattered mind. It can lead to a narrow focus on my own interests. It always going to be vulnerable and open to anxiety and fear and frustration. Unselfishness mind is a relaxed mind. The more we are relaxed, doing good to the organization, doing good to the family, or the place where you live with, you're relaxed to yourself. Or you're worshipping God in your actions. You're offering all your actions as a worship to the Lord. We are so much, there's a saying about the spirituality. Simplest definition. Most practical is, spirituality is, when I close my eyes, I find peace within. When I open my eyes, my attitude is what I can do for you. With eyes open, what I can do for you. There is the world here, what I can do for you. When I close my eyes, there's peace within me. Our problem is just the opposite. All sorts of disturbances are coming. All sorts of thoughts, restlessness. When I open my eyes, there is no what I can do for you, what I can get from you. This is the opposite of spirituality. This is the world now we are in. So, unselfishness, to the extent that we can be, to the mind will be relaxed and better focused. The focus which comes out of selfishness, narrow band focus, which leads to unpleasantness and tension and frustration. Another insight is love leads to focus. So what I love, my mind automatically drawn to that easily and focused without any techniques. You don't need to do any breathing techniques, or it automatically leads to a focus there. So, for example, mother in a house looking after the young child, because the mother loves the child, all activities are done. Cleaning, cooking, taking care of the child, helping in the homework, getting ready to the school and so on. All of that is done, yet the mind is focused on the child and leads the child. Right? So love leads to focus. Devotion to God leads to focus, easily and without effortlessly. The other thing is, focus is like a muscle. Just like you can develop muscles by exercising, focus can also be developed by repeatedly exercising. Everybody asks how we can focus of our mind. When we can sit with a book, my mind wanders off. Every time it wanders off, we can bring it back. The more we do it, the more that muscle of focus will develop. And the better we will become. But how and what? Let's note down some details on it. There are a few tips for developing the focus. The first is to understand the student's life or the kid's life. It's a preparatory stage. Many of them, we make mistakes. This is one opportunity to enjoy as much as I can. But later on, when we look back, the only thing that we will think of is how much did I utilize those years. And one regret that we will have is the golden opportunity that I missed for knowledge and personality development, and I did not utilize it to the hilt. So we should be considering the best years for training ourselves for the later life when actually entering into the arena of life. So the second tip is for actually people who are studying. Of course, the results are very important, but we should be enjoying the process as well, because all about preparing some piece of knowledge and vomiting it out on the paper and seeing what my grades are, then it becomes tremendous austerity. But if you can start valuing the process itself and try to enjoy the knowledge that we are cultivating on it, then effort goes a longer way. That's what I believe in. Another tip is comes to my mind is that respect to the teachers. Sometimes we have this mentality that making jokes about teachers, etc., that lack of reverence affects our own reception of knowledge that we receive. And if we keep in mind that there is a person who has learned and practiced this subject for a whole lifetime, and that person is willing to share us that knowledge with us, that kind of attitude, if we have received the knowledge, the process becomes very enjoyable and much more out of it. And talking about this focus, focus is very much like a muscle. Just like you can develop muscles by exercising, focus can also be developed by repeatedly exercising it. So when you ask, how do I develop the focus of mind? When I sit with the book in front, my mind wanders off. I say, okay, every time it wanders off, we can bring it back. Every time it wanders off, we can again bring it back. The more we do it, the more the muscle of focus will develop. And I think, I believe, the better and better we can become. It's not the amount of time we spend, the quality of time we spent on studying. The little time that we could cover a lot, time the focus can be there. One last tip is, from my own experience, the morning hours are the best. When you wake up in the morning, your mind is empty. And at that time, if we can absorb the knowledge, it grows really deep. And focus is also great. But as you go through the day, the mind starts filling up in the world and it becomes as much a struggle. I know the lifestyle is such that study at night and sleep in late in the morning. But if you can try out the other one, study in the morning, it's like a sponge. It can absorb so much. Let me put it this way. If you're not paying attention to what I'm saying, would you know what I'm talking about? No, right? That's so with every aspect of life, isn't it? If you're not paying attention to it, you don't know what you're eating, or you don't know what you're breathing. You don't know the fragrance of the flowers or anything that just walking through, like rocks. Or let me say a bull. Or because bull is worshipped in the stock market. So it is a evolutionary fallback. You walk like a bull or a bear. It's a evolutionary fallback. You evolved to be a human being taking millions of years. Now you don't want to fall back to be a human being. What is unique about a human being is we do the same things what other animals do. It is just all that the animal can do. We do the same thing, but we can do it consciously. That's a big difference. And doing anything consciously will not come if you don't have sufficient attention towards things that you can do or you cannot do, especially things that you do not do. You must have attention to it, otherwise you will creep into you. Because people's idea of education is information. Right now the whole idea of human education system has become heaping us with information. The more information you heap upon on any mind, or let's say starting from childhood, the more we will develop aversion to attention. Because without knowing anything, information gives us a false feeling that we know everything. That has become a fashion now. Now let's take, we are invited to a dinner party. We Google out that information about 100 billion galaxy. They have some numbers and all, right? So that 556 BZ, the galaxy we know. About that you know some information. You Google out and get this 2 sentences out, go to the dinner party. Who talks to you? How are you? Do you know about this galaxy, which is a trillion miles away, light years away, whatever? And we talk about it. Everybody thinks that we are smart. This is the whole world's problem. We are mistaking information for intelligence. An entrepreneur who wants to navigate through any situation needs intelligence, not just information. Information may be useful on the side, but it's intelligence which will allow you to navigate through a particular situation in a unique way, not the way somebody else is doing. We are mistaken information for intelligence. Once you heap yourself too much information, our attention is a serious problem, definitely. Once you don't have attention, once you have no ability to hold your attention, you have lost your ability to access your intelligence. That's a beautiful incident. You heard about Andrew Carnegie. When Andrew Carnegie started his enterprise, in a short span of time, he became so super successful and made so much money. At the time, this not the age of Google or Facebook or Twitter. In 2 years, they become multimillionaires. All those days, decades for generations. So this person has made lots of money in this short span of time. People suspected, the US government suspected that probably he has done some malpractice. So they set up a Senate investigation. So they questioned him everywhere. There was nothing problem in the business. How do you manage? They asked the question to be so successful. So Andrew Carnegie said something very simple. See, I can keep my mind focused on for 5 minutes at a stretch. 5 minutes. Can any of you do it? All senators, they thought, what's the problem with 5 minutes? And set up an experiment. They tried to keep their attention. They couldn't keep it for a few seconds. One moment here, one moment there. This is the fate of every human being. Then he said, you should not be running the office. So human ability, there is something called as mind. Largely we are considering mind as mind. In yogic system, there are 4 main aspects of the mind. We don't need to go in detail, but the memory part of the mind is of least importance, which is connected with the consciousness, which is very important. If you find a shape for your mind, that shape will manifest always, because it is empowered by life-making material, which lack of words, I think we are using a word for consciousness. That is the basis of life. Once our mind is yoked to that, then what shape, whichever shape mind takes, it is like a cloud. You can make a devil out of it, you can make a pig out of it, you can make whatever you want. It is a nebulous thing. Whatever shape you give it to that mind, it always manifests accordingly to the world. It is empowered by the life-making energy behind it. So that is the most important aspect of the mind, not the memory. Memory is important to handle the material aspects. After all, an entrepreneur may be just trying to handle the material. It is fine, but I would like to be exciting adventure. It should be like an exciting adventure, new possibility. Explore the new possibilities, not just the economic possibilities. That possibility is there in an entrepreneur's life. He can turn his entrepreneurship into a spiritual possibility and a spiritual growth, or growth of being itself, which I feel everybody should explore. That is why we are trying to bring a spiritual element. Success will come easy not because of any magic, simply because you function at your full potential. If you want to, in schools there is something called a 3-leg race. You get 3-leg race, but you run slower. But with 2 legs you run faster, isn't it? 3 legs you become very efficient. More efficient than the numbers, but it is how it is. More information means something that is attached to it. You attach to your memory and identify yourself. The more you do it, the less effective you become. But right now, our whole idea of education is information, and there is internet. A 12-year-old child knows what is the name of the galaxy up there, a trillion light years away, which is not good for you. This is not the knowledge. This is not of any usefulness. This is only for the showing off. And above all, it will take away to ability to pay attention, because the basis of attention is you realize that you do not know even a speck in the universe properly. In the entirety, you do not know even an atom. That is why you can pay attention. If you cannot pay attention, it is arrogance of information, which will bring you attention deficiency. That is focus. So until next week, this is PJ signing off. We'll bring you more interesting topics during coming weeks. Don't focus on the competition. Focus on the ways to make yourself better. Until then, take care. Goodbye.